Graham Hunter, how are you?
Well, I'm pleased to be able to be speaking to Nathan and he doesn't have to go through my press officer. So delighted. Listen, you are a major player.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you. You saying it makes everything okay again.
I know. That's why I said it. Let's get on to the grim stuff now, Owen. Let's get on to the bad stuff.
Yeah, let's start with the grim stuff. Let's start with the news that Neil Lennon has resigned as Celtic manager. It's hardly surprising given the context of the season, and yet there was a sense that they've got so far that he might actually make it to the summer, and there might be a longer resignation to be drawn out over the next couple of months. Not so. Celtic have acted quickly. Are you surprised?
Not at all surprised. No, it was a little bit surprised it's taken this long because. Much though I know and like Neil Lennon, much though you have to appreciate what he's done over his spell as a player and a manager, this season's been what you could only call disastrous. I'm not an Old Firm fan, and therefore, irrespective of Rangers finally getting a title, irrespective of the fact that they're so significantly better than Celtic, if you simply look at the use of talent, if you simply look at the level of football, the disappearance from knockout cups, it's not anywhere near the standards that club require, and therefore, rather than focusing on the Old Firm divide or Neil Lennon himself, what would any responsible club do in terms of rebuilding, in terms of stopping the rot? And that's a phrase that can apply to this season. What Celtic have won under Neil Lennon, much though I think he was shrewd in maintaining what he inherited from Brendan Rodgers when he came back. He found a club that was far more systematic, far more modernised. Brendan Rodgers had left it in a good state, and Neil Lennon's savvy was not to tinker with that very much indeed. And therefore, this season has been such a retrograde step that I think that irrespective of the fact that it's the clashing factor of, if you go to any leading manager, they prefer to take over with the end of the season and with time to plan a big summer in terms of recruitment, training, new systems, new personnel. So whether they get the right person right now, although there will be a huge list of people apply. I spoke to one person, I can't say who, but I spoke to one person last night that I know very well who's been interested in this job for many, many months, and they were on the phone trying to get in line. There will be a huge queue of people, but do you get the right people, the right person right now? That's open to doubt. But in any sporting institution, if you see things going wildly wrong, you act. I don't think you wait. So even if it's an interim manager until the end of the season, time to say to the players this isn't good enough, and to show the fans and sponsors that the people who run the club are actually taking action. That I understand definitely.
How high profile is the list going to be, and how big a name can we expect to be at the top of that list?
That's a really fair question. At the time when Celtic were knocked out of the cup the last time up in Inverness, the idea at Celtic was that there would be somebody of the experience of Martin O'Neill or Gordon Strachan brought in to try and remedy things quickly, and somebody that would know the ropes, know the league, know the expectations of the fan base. I think that can change now, given that it's going to be a completely fresh start. The league and Europe have both gone. I don't think there's a real contest for second place. Therefore, I think that the ideas can be different. I think that when it's revealed who's in the running, I think you will see serious, high-profile names. The situation, largely, I have to say, thanks to a backlog of some, Celtic qualification, but Rangers' recent performance in Europe and the Scottish national team's improvement means that the coefficient has gone up, and being in charge of the leading or one of the leading two clubs in Scotland is going to bring better European football, coming in at a late and a better stage of Europa League and the Champions League. group football, much though our league is not in its best shape at the moment, group football in the Champions League is not out of the question, and therefore you will find serious coaches, serious managers wishing to be part of that very big club.
Graham, we must move on to the Champions League last night because there's a couple of things to get to. First of all, Atletico against Chelsea. Atletico came to spoil the party at times last night, but Chelsea seemed to find this new maturity that perhaps we didn't realise they had last night. And this is a really good early staging point from Thomas Tuchel's perspective.
Okay, let's start with the loser stuff. And to be honest, there's no defence for Atletico. They played without wit, without energy. The idea that Simeone sent them out with was incorrect. He has suffered badly from injury and COVID absences in recent weeks. The domestic form has been poor. But what was proven in the home defeat against Levante at the weekend that I worked on, commentated on, was that when you shackle your most informed, scoring, attacking midfielder, the guy who's got the ability to run beyond a relatively high press and a high line of defence, then that's Llorente. When you shackle him at wing back, particularly if Chelsea are savvy enough to know how to play Suarez, which is to say there's space in behind there. If you think you can outrun us, then knock yourself out. For Simeone to begin like that and play for so long like that was incomprehensible to me. There was a kid on the bench called Ricard, natural right back, who could have played from the start, and certainly as the game developed, could have released Llorente to ask completely different questions of Chelsea, such that his ability to power it onto balls played through in behind Chelsea would have changed how Tuchel saw the game, how Chelsea needed to play. It would have given Atleti an ability to look for second balls once Llorente broke through and either created chances or was tackled and there were loose balls. It was the wrong approach. He took far too long. I mean, unconscionably long to put on Dembele, who, he's lacked a little bit of match fitness because of the difficulties he's had in not playing a lot at Lyon and coming to Madrid and having to sequestrate himself because of a COVID infection. Nonetheless, he showed at the weekend, lads, that he is still quick and powerful. And that, again, not only does he bring goals, as Manchester City will testify from last season's Champions League, but that he has his running power back, that he has the ability to run in behind. Therefore, kudos for Chelsea for being the better team throughout. Kudos to Chelsea that even though they've had their injury and form problems, they looked confident. They played a better form of football. They go, oh, fine, well done, lovely finish. We know Giroud is perfectly capable of that. But throughout the game, they took the initiative. They played better quality football. They looked more cohesive as a unit. You pointed out, not bad from Tuchel early in his reign. That's right. But another magnifying glass put upon Simeone. Simeone is not a bad coach. He's not a bad motivator. He's a good spotter of talent. He's accumulated a good group of footballers there. But the way in which his fingers have been burned by those two Champions League final defeats, which have made him even more ultra cautious, that is doing him damage.
Graham, you've a decade now nearly watching Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid, and defeats happen and the questions and the negativity around defeats and the style of football come up all the time. How does he generally respond in this situation?
Well, first of all, he's pretty much untouchable because he's earned hundreds and hundreds of millions for Atleti from the Champions League. Okay, if they go out in this round and on that performance repeated, and they guaranteed will in London, they have more in their locker to be able to make the London tie at least interesting. But if they go out, they still have earned 70-something million. He recently in January renewed until 2024. It's inarguable, Nathan, that he is, in trophy terms, easily the most successful Atleti manager ever. They still are in a favourable position to win only their third title in 44 years. The wind has gone out of their sails in the last, let's call it the last 3 of the last 4 games domestically. but with a game in hand and a point advantage on both Real Madrid and Barcelona, and the likelihood that those big two will still lose games between now and the end of the season, Atleti are in pole position to win the title. And therefore, questioning his future, no. He's recently renewed his coaching team by bringing Nelson Vivas in. Mona Burgos, his long-term collaborator, has gone out. It is true that he's played a different brand of football. I listened to Phil earlier on. What we saw there hasn't been the brand of football, Nathan, we've seen all season from Atleti. They played much more attractively. They keep the ball better. They played much more associative football. It's a lot less negative in general. But when things are going wrong, when form and injury combine to be banging at his door, he reverts to an ultra-conservatism. And that's where he needs to self-examine between now and May to see if he can rid himself of that, use the squad in a more aggressive and a more attacking way, both in London and for the remainder of La Liga. So you say, how is he viewed after results like these recently, the home defeat to Levante, and this horrible performance in Bucharest? I mean, really poor. He's not under any threat. But if he's the type of coach that he showed in the first 6-7 years of his reign to be, if he can refine that, then he'll be justifying his 20 million a year salaries. He's the best paid football coach in the world.
Just to finish up on tonight then, Graham, Atalanta against Real Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid have got a huge list of injuries at this point, but it's interesting listening to Tony Kroos doing media this week. A journalist asked him who he'd rather have on the end of his passes, Haaland or Mbappe, and he said Karim Benzema. Correct political answer from Tony Kroos, but this is the life of a Real Madrid player at the moment, Graham, that the world expects them to go out and grab a new Galactico this year.
Well, no, okay, you're right, the world does, but that's not what's driving them. First of all, he can say that all he wants, but poor old Karim Benzema isn't in Bergamo tonight, isn't going to be playing, isn't fit. He's probably struggling even for the weekend when I think they play Real Sociedad. The reason that there's further Galactico speculation is that Florentino's been saving his pocket money, and he's got a very big piggy bank now, which he wants to spend on Mbappe. Mbappe has been easy about his future in Paris until very recently, when suddenly he's beginning to say many more years. Okay, fine. I think that there is a significant chance that Mbappe moves to Madrid this summer. Guaranteed, no. What do Paris Saint-Germain do without him? Not sure. If I were in charge of Paris Saint-Germain, would I be throwing absolutely everything at keeping Mbappe? Yes. But these Galactical questions that are going at Tony Kroos, one, what's he going to answer right now? It would be ridiculous to answer anything else. Two, he's got a very good connection with Benzema. But they want Mbappe so much. And the Haaland thing is a different kettle of fish. They have Mbappe prioritised. Haaland, Barcelona are trying their butts off. The new president, which we'll know on March 7th, is going to have credit lines of cash that I cannot believe, given the situation they're in and their overall global 1.1 billion debt. The new president, if the new president is Laporta, the credit line that he's going to be given is phenomenal to my mind, phenomenal. And therefore, there's legitimate possibility that Barcelona signed Haaland, which ups the ante to Real Madrid signing Mbappe. So irrespective of, we are in a down period these months of Spanish football on the continent, particularly over the last couple of weeks. But by the summer, they're going to be punching everybody else senseless to try and pinch Haaland and Mbappe. And for the moment, just for those who want to watch Atalanta playing Real Madrid, it's probably going to be Mariano, remember him, up front, with 10 other footballers who can produce the best performance in the Champions League compared to the other three, and can beat Atalanta. But Atalanta, with the way that Gasperini has them moving the ball, the speed of the players, but the speed of the possession, the high pressing, they're precisely the type of team that Madrid don't often meet in La Liga, don't particularly like, because they're a slowing team, particularly in midfield. And therefore, I hate to say it, although I think Real Madrid will do well in Italy tonight, I hate to say it, that it could be a whitewashing in Champions League for Spanish Champions League teams. Please don't let it
Graham
happen,
Hunter.
guys.
Graham, thanks a million. Really appreciate that this morning.